You're watching Pittsburgh Steelers Talk. I am Tom Downey. Some good news. We did catch the Browns channel in likes for the month of July, but now it's a new month, and they are beating us with the early advantage, kind of cheating because they were celebrating the Deshaun Watson suspension news this morning. We are down 246-0. So we're playing catch-up to begin the month. Get it started by liking today's video right now. We begin with the big NFL news of the day and, of course, how it impacts your Pittsburgh Steelers. Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games by the NFL arbitrator Judge Sue Robinson. NFL has a chance to appeal. We'll see if they do or do not. But first, the question, was 6 games enough for the Deshaun Watson suspension and the, almost 30, I think it is now, women who accused him of sexual assault / misconduct? Was it enough? Y for yes or N for no? Sound off for me in the comment section. Now, per most suspension stuff, you can play and practice during the preseason. He'll be around the organization from that standpoint. Then he's gone in the regular season. He can return to the team after week 3, by the way, which is important in particular to the Steelers as it ties into when those two teams play. Also, he is not allowed to have any massages from outside the organization, which, if we're making that a condition, I feel like maybe he just shouldn't be allowed out. It's a wild condition to tack onto a meager 6-game suspension. It does tie in line with the other suspensions, though, that did not involve charges. Big Ben got 4 games. That was originally 6, brought down to 4. Zeke Elliott got 6 games, which is a interesting comparison in the two cases, since he had 30 accusations against one, and also text messages showing that the accuser was trying to ruin Zeke's life, and maybe not consistent overall is the issue here. And I think that's kind of what was the ruling in the end. The case from Robinson was like, look, these are the rules. This is the conduct in case. It was non-violent. With that said, 6 games seems too light. This was always my approach when it came to Deshaun Watson. If you think he did it, 6 games is way too light. If you think he didn't do anything, well, then 6 games is way too heavy. But clearly, the NFL, the NFLPA, and Judge Sue Robinson, the arbitrator, thinks that something was happening here, something bad. So 6 games is way too light of a discipline. It should either be one extreme or the other. Taking 6 games kind of just feels like the middle ground in the end. So we'll let you guys be in charge here. How many games should Deshaun Watson have been suspended? 0? 16? 32? What is it? 17? Let me know in the comments. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Now for how this more impacts the Steelers side of things. Of course, it's Pittsburgh at Cleveland, September 22nd, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Thursday night football in Week 3. The Browns will not have Deshaun Watson for that game. And I can say that confidently because there is an appeal process that's a potentiality. The way the NFL appeal process works, it goes right to Roger Goodell or someone Goodell appoints. So not going to get lowered beyond 6 games from that standpoint. That should help the Steelers' chances of winning the game. Deshaun Watson, when he's been out there, ignoring all of the troubling off-the-field stuff, has performed like a top 10, whatever you want to rank him, quarterback in the NFL. Jacoby Brissett, meanwhile, decidedly is not that. He started 5 games last year for Miami. He wasn't bad, but, he is what he is. He is a backup quarterback. He is not a starting caliber guard. Can the Browns have success with a great offensive line, running game, and some decent receivers? Absolutely. But you feel a lot better playing Jacoby Brissett than you do Deshaun Watson if you're an opposing NFL team. So I think that the suspension news does benefit Pittsburgh, even if maybe not quite to the full extent they had thought. Now, the Steelers t-shirt combo pack is still available at chatsports.com/pit combo. That link is in the comment section, and it will be in the description of today's video. 2 t-shirts, Heavily discounted. It's a fantastic deal. $30 combined. You're not going to find a better deal. I promise you. These t-shirt deals don't last forever. So get going right now. chatsports.com/PittCombo. Let's talk training camp here, and the early hype is on the receivers. The Steelers, very well, as I said, as I can claim from my draft rankings, the Steelers might have struck gold at the wide receiver position with both George Pickens and Calvin Austin, two players who I thought should have been taken before they were drafted. George Pickens was a second-round selection, and Calvin Austin was a fourth-round pick. Relative on my board, I had Pickens as the 40th overall player. He was my number 8 receiver. Christian Watson was behind him, for example. Calvin Austin, meanwhile, was my number 82 player. We know he fell to the hundreds, and I had a third-round grade on him. Both those guys were top 13 receivers for me. I do think the Steelers have found some gold based on the early camp hype, which we'll get into more in depth here in a little bit. But we do have a trivia question for you guys. Later on in the show, we'll reveal it for you. But who was the last wide receiver taken in the first round by the Pittsburgh Steelers? It almost stumped the Chat Sports office earlier today, but sound off and make your predictions for me in the comment section. All right, let's gas up George Pickens now. We talked about him a little bit on yesterday's show. The hype continues as camp moves along. The pads come on today for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pickens didn't play much in 2021. He suffered the torn ACL, was eventually coming back at the end of the year. There were some off-the-field attitude concerns with Pickens as well. Talent-wise, upside-wise, you're talking about someone who could have been in the same competition as Garrett Wilson, as Jameson Williams, Drake London, Chris Olave, etc. Pickens has talent, of that there is no doubt. He could be a fantastic outside receiver for the Steelers. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you got the big, tall, strong Pickens. You got the skinny, tiny, and explosive Calvin Austin, who also brings you some potential special teams abilities. We've talked before about how Pittsburgh wants to use the pre-snap motion, the jet sweeps, jet handoffs, etc. as part of the offense. Nobody on the roster is better equipped to be that guy, that almost gadget player in his career, than Calvin Austin. Yes, he's undersized. Once the ball in his hands, he makes some significant plays. He fell because of the size, even though I liked him better than Wan'Dale Robinson, who went in round 2 to the Giants. Austin's dynamic. He's explosive. We can figure out who wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 is on the outside long-term between Johnson and Claypool, but I do think the duo of Pickens and Austin has immense upside for this team moving forward. The Steelers, track record-wise, acknowledging that no one ever bats 100, are great at finding wide receivers. When they take somebody, especially outside of round 1, they tend to get really good results. Guys like Deontay Johnson has been a huge hit so far. Juju Smith-Schuster has been a fantastic piece relative to where he was drafted. Obviously peaked a bit earlier in Pittsburgh. Emmanuel Sanders had a very long, successful career. Antonio Brown, before he went all nutcase, was a gem as a 6th-round pick. Mike Wallace was awesome value for a 3rd-round. Hell, if Antonio Brown, if he wasn't a crazy person, we'd be talking about him as the best 6th-round pick. Maybe we are, actually, outside of this guy you might have heard of named Tom Brady. Outside of really Limas Swede, Pittsburgh's done a great job of drafting receivers outside of the 1st round. So our trivia question answer, the last receiver taken in the 1st round by Pittsburgh, San Antonio Holmes. Worth it alone for the touchdown catch against the Arizona Cardinals. Maybe not the greatest 1st-round receiver of his generation, far from it. Also, by no means a bust either. A solid player for Pittsburgh, part of a very long line of good receiver draft picks as a whole by that organization. So hopefully Pickens and Austin can join that grouping of Johnson, Juju, Sanders, Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, etc. as gems the organization has found outside of the 1st round. You guys know the drill by now. If you are a real one and you made it all the way to the end of today's video, make sure you type in "Here we go" in the comment section. And just make sure you guys are subscribed as well. That way, because we do more videos every single day. Preseason's around the corner. We've got you guys covered with everything going on around the Pittsburgh Steelers right here on Steelers Talk.